Welcome back everyone, this is Ahmed for Avionics and this is Mastering Docker. In section 3 we are discussing Docker containers, and in this lecture let's start with discussing how to recover from failures. How containers can recover from failures, or in other words, how to make the container restarts or reloads when it encounters something. Containers contain services, so they can be considered as mini servers running in the background. If you have a server or service running on your system, more often than not you'll have to monitor this service for any failures, and perhaps you have some sort of mechanism to restart that service if something wrong happens. Let's say, for example, it ran out of memory because of some leakage happened in one of the applications. It used all the memory. It just needs to be restarted so that the memory will be cleared and the application will continue to work as normal. So you can have some sort of mechanism to detect the failure or the shutdown of a service and restart it again. Containers in Docker are treated the same way. Docker provides a mechanism for restarting containers in the event of failures. A container will keep on running as long as the commands it executes are. When all the commands exit, the container is stopped. When the command fails from some reason, the container will exit as well. Docker provides a restart mechanism to help recover the container from failures, and this can be manually passed in to the container in the creation process by using the --" restart flag. For example, I can create a very simple container here that will run in the background, and let's give it a name, display date. It will be based on BusyBox, of course, but let's pass in the option to restart this container when it is down. And as we said, the container will shut down as soon as the command that it runs exits. This time we're running the date command, so the date command is not designed to be always working in the background. It just displays the current date and time and exits, and once that happens, the container will just exit as well. So I want to make sure that the container does not exit after the date command has finished. I want it to restart again and re-executes the date command. But of course, if Docker restarted the container as soon as it stopped and then it restarts it again and again and again and again without waiting for any period of time between subsequent restarts, that may cause more damage than benefit. For that reason, Docker uses some sort of a backup mechanism in which it automatically calculates the amount of time it has to wait between each restart and the subsequent one. Let's have an example. Now suppose that I have worked with this command here and I instructed Docker to restart this container when it shuts down, and of course it will shut down as the date command exits. Suppose that it waited 1 second before restarting this container, and when it restarted the container it detected that it shut down again. This time it's not going to wait for 1 second, it's going to wait for double the period that it waited the first time. So it's going to wait for 2 seconds before it restarts the container. And if it does shut down again, it will wait for double the period again, so it will wait 4 seconds. The next time it will wait for 8 seconds, the next time it will wait for 16 seconds, 32 seconds, and so on. So that helps the container and also the administrator to be aware that something wrong is happening and that some diagnostic programs or troubleshooting must be done on the container to determine the cause of failure. And of course, as we said, restarting the container too quickly may cause damage more than benefit. But restart has 4 options or 4 different states that they can be used on. It is either do not restart at all, which is the default behavior. So if you run a container just without the --" restart, it will just not restart if it exits. If we used it with the on-failure like this, so it's --" restart and then on failure, this means that it will restart the container only when a failure happens, only when something wrong happens. And optionally, you can pass in the maximum number of retries, let's say 3, which means that Docker will only restart this container 3 times. After 3 times have passed and the container is still failing, it will not attempt to restart it again. The third state that restart uses, unless stopped. Now, unless stopped means that Docker will not restart the container if you manually stopped it. If you use Docker stop followed by the container name, the daemon will not restart it. Okay? And finally, you have always. This means that Docker will always restart the container no matter what happens. It will restart it if you stopped it. It will restart it if it exits cleanly. it will restart it. If it exits with an error, it will always restart the daemon. It will always restart the container, and it will always restart the container. It will always make sure that the container is running. So let's just use this option, which is always with busybox state. Okay, I forgot to add run, and now I have a container with that ID running in the background. I am interested now in having a look at the logs or the output of this container. It is called display date. Now have a look. Docker has restarted the container the first time very quickly, just in less than 1 second. Then it waited 1 second. Okay, then perhaps these are 2 seconds, then 6 seconds, then 7 seconds, and so on. As you can see here, the amount of time Docker waits before attempting to restart the container is increasing. As you can see here, it will wait for a larger number of seconds than those 9 seconds that it waited since the last restart attempt. And that is the back-off policy that we have just discussed. And that brings us to the end of this lecture. My name is Ahmed for Avionics, and see you next.